A very good morning to you wherever you are this day, 1st of May 2025, the Labor Day. You know, I want to thank God for this beautiful day, a beautiful month, new beginnings, a new chapter. We indeed are grateful to the Most High God. Karibuni sana from wherever you're joining us, our viewers and listeners. And it is a pleasure to be hosting you this morning as we talk about matters relationship. I have an amazing couple who will be taking us through their journey, you know, about just life, relationships, marriage, how it is like. And the topic for today will be discussing about what love rebuilds. Yes, indeed, love covers a multitude of sins, and today we'll be talking about that with my special guest. My name is Sally Limo. Remember to talk to us on 20316, which is our SMS line. 0786 316 316 is our WhatsApp line. Send in your questions, comments, and also compliments to my amazing guests. Karibuni sana, Daktari and Eunice. And I'll start with Eunice. Ladies first. Please introduce yourself to the audience.
Thank you so much, Sally, and happy Labor Day.
Karibu,
so my name is Eunice Awino Diambo. I'm very happy to be here. Professionally, I'm a researcher, data analyst, very passionate about mathematics. But then I'm also a wife to my dear husband here, Dr. Chadwin. I'm also a mother of one little happy boy. Yeah, and very passionate about matters marriage, matters purity, and courtship. Thank you.
Fantastic. Karibu sana, Eunice. Doc.
Yeah, thank you, Sally, for having us. My name is Chadwin Kochieng. I'm a medical doctor by training, but I'm a minister by calling, and I'm also an author by passion.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Hey, ini familia wasomi. So I can call you even Pastor Doc. I can call you any of those, isn't it? Karibuni sana. And maybe just to start us off, Eunice, let the audience know, let us know, how long have you been married? How was it like when you met? What drew you to each other?
So currently we're in our third year of marriage, a very exciting journey so far. And how we met, it goes more or less 10 years back, 10 or 11 years back. So we met in campus in our first year. Went to the University of Nairobi, first year students. So we were just going there to study, but then in the by and by we met each other. So our first encounter was when we were going for Christian Union training at Focus Center. So I went and sat at the back of the bus, and I don't know if he noticed me, but he came and sat beside me. And then now conversation started flowing. So that was our first encounter. And for me, I was really attracted by the type of questions he was asking, the interactions. Basically, I would say that the conversation was very natural and it really flowed. So out of that small encounter, we were able to exchange a lot, and then the conversations continued on and on until 1 year later, specifically 7th of January 2014, is when we officially started dating. While in campus. So that's how we started it off.
Hey, Pasia Pituita, Doc. I said I'll call you both because indeed you are a minister. So, Doc, Upituita Vitu Vizuri. Anyway, what drew you to Eunice? She was just sitting somewhere alone, enjoying her meeting. Then you show up. What drew you to her?
The honest truth was that at the time I met her, I just saw a beautiful girl who was seated at the back of a vehicle, and the bus, we were going to Focus Center to be specific. And for me, it was just the conversation. There's this guy, let's have a conversation. So I wasn't really at that time looking for someone to date. I just got into first year medical school. I'm very focused. I want to achieve goals and all that. But then in the course of time, as we begin to converse, I realized that beneath the beauty, the outward beauty, there's a lot of amazing things about her. She had a deep passion for God. She had so deep quality of character, which for me was very appealing. And then I mean, I was born again when I was 10 years, and I started preaching at 11 years. So for the first time, I meet someone who is just desiring to be married by a pastor. And I'm like, wow, because most ladies would be intimidated by guys who preach. But for her, that was like, it would just draw her. She liked people who are preaching, and for some reason I sensed there's a lot of congruence, a lot of alignment. She was passionate about God and the things of God, genuinely so. Yeah, so then we started having a good time, and as she said, on 7th of January 2014.
2014, yeah.
Then we started off a relationship.
Wow. And,
Yeah.
and of course, her intelligence also. Quite an
Yes.
intelligent person, right?
I mean, I'm not good in math, but well, she's even done a master's in math, and I'm like, how do you crack mathematics?
I know.
Yeah.
Wow.
So she is very intelligent.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Your dating life now. Here you are. So you started dating. How is it like?
Our dating journey is quite interesting and very rocky. Yeah, so we dated before we got married. I would say an average of 8 to 9 years, but in between there were lots of breakups.
Right.
Lots of breakups. So our first 2 years, 2.5 years of dating were very nice. But then towards the end of the second year, we started a lot of disagreements. We were not agreeing on so many things.
Yeah.
So it was the timing, it was the immaturity, I would say. Like looking back in retrospect, the things that we used to fight over were really not worth fighting for, because of I would say the state of immaturity that we were in at that point. Things like you didn't reply my message, you didn't pick my call on time, and things like that. So that led to a lot of breakups. In between, we came back together, again broke up, came back together again broke up. So yeah, I would say it was like a series with many episodes in between. Yeah, and all of them have unique reasons as to why. So I don't know if I should go into the details of it. Yeah. So I mean, in terms of immaturity, one of them I would mention is there's a time, if I could give a personal example, there's a time it was my birthday. I was used to being showered with gifts and a lot of love. So this particular one, he did not buy me any birthday gift and nothing. The day just went past. And I think maybe he forgot, even wished me happy birthday later on in the day. So I really felt bad and emotional about that, and I decided to fight back. So me fighting back, okay, if I look back, I think it was a lot of immaturity, because he was in a state where he didn't have the capacity to do anything at that point. And him doing anything would mean him going into debt. So he came in a very peaceful way and explained to me why I was not able to do ABCD. It's because right now I don't have money, and it's not like I'm not planning something for you. I will, but you know, just give me time. But I made a big fuss out of it. And of course, ended up calling him mean and many words, which led to our breakup. So many instances, if I look back, I would say really, if I was a mature woman, I would have seen this guy intends good for me, doesn't want to go into debt because of me. Yeah, so things like that. And then medical school, the pressure and the timing really also drained our relationship big time. Because I would demand a lot of attention, I would demand a lot of time, but it didn't have the time that I really was craving for. So I would say also the timing. It was a good, perfect relationship, because I would say we were a model kind of a couple on campus, but then the time would really strain the relationship and all. So yeah, a lot. Yeah, a lot maybe can add.
Yeah, exactly. Doc, you can come in now, chime in on what Eunice.
No, what she's saying is right. I think a good thing can happen, but if it's happening in the wrong timing, then the beauty can be lost. Just like the Bible verse that says, He makes everything beautiful in its time. So we started off nicely. 2014, we were like, I mean, the perfect couple. Guys were calling us dad and mom. Whoa. And I mean, we used to, and then in medical school, I don't know if it's the same today nowadays, but in our time, second year was like the easiest year. Okay. Because first year is very grueling, you're very busy. So that's why I couldn't even handle a relationship in the first year. So second year now we are like, we have time. So we had a very beautiful relationship. Then I enter into, so there's a course called Bachelor of Science in Human Anatomy. Okay. So we were 4 of us who were selected to do this at the end of second year. So that meant that when people closed for long holidays, which he was one of those people, I came back almost immediately for a very grueling course, very demanding. Then that's when now the issue started, the conflict. Because for me, I'm busy. Sometimes the whole day, I have not even had any meal. And so in the evening, I call her, for her, she feels like you're just calling me with your last energies of a day. Why didn't you call me during the day? So we really fought a lot to the point that, and then we were also not agreeing on conflict itself. Right. I was the type that believed we're not supposed to be fighting.
Yeah.
For her, she was like, it is healthy to fight. So we got to a point where personally, I got so drained. And you see, at that time also, you become vulnerable.
Yeah.
You feel like she's not understanding. Maybe it's because she's not a medic. And then now you find, to some point, I almost entered into another relationship because I felt the other people are the ones who are understanding me
better.
Yeah, so I'm here, things are difficult and all that, which of course later on I realized it's a fallacy. And by then for the birthday, I have learned for men out there, never forget her birthday and always have something. Yes, always have something, you know. Yeah, so we get into this space where even despite the things that rocked us, I almost entered into emotional infidelity.
Yeah.
Then it gets to a point where I just feel tired, I can't. And so when I go into now third year of medical school, which is now in Kenyatta, I just decide, no, let me just quit. Yeah, so we quit, but then we try to reconnect. But to summarize it all, I think immaturity really played a big role. We were very young. Our hearts were right, but our heads were wrong.
Yeah.
So we had all the fights, which I thank God that we went through that phase then. Because now when we would reconnect after some time, when we entered marriage, we didn't have to go through that. Yeah, so our marriage has been largely very stable because we went through those dark days in the tunnels back then. Yeah. So by the time we were coming back together, things were much aligned. There was maturity, there was growth. Yeah.
Okay, so during this period, you know, there's all this, the wrangles as we call them, you know, you're fighting. Eunice, how are you handling now the whole situation? Like, because in a relationship, there's someone who talks and the other one who just quotes. The other one who just anakasirika too. They're just there, they don't say anything.
Quiet,
the quiet person, and then there's the one who wants to talk. How did you used to go about it? Are you the quiet one? Are you the one who used to initiate the talks, you know?
Yeah, so I think for me, it's a mix of both. Yeah. So it depends on how high I am because of the situation that has come in. So sometimes I would take a back seat and be quiet, but sometimes I would want to talk. Yeah. But in terms of conflict resolution, I would say he was really good at it because most of the time he would bring us to the table to talk, even while we were dating. Okay. So of course there was a lot of emotional you know, feelings coming out when we were, you know, a lot of crying, a lot of exchanging words, a lot of texting, long texts, and all that. But
which
then,
I never read.
Yeah, which I never read. So, but he would always come, be very calm, and of course take his time. Sometimes it would be a day, overnight, but then he would call us and say, you know, we need to talk about this. Yeah. Sometimes I would also initiate that, but I would really give it to him that most of the time he would really initiate the reconciliation process and trying to bring us back. And so I would really allow me to mention this. Sorry to take us a little bit back. It's okay. Insecurities. So you hear him talk about certain point emotionally, you know, infidelity and all that. So you find that you're in a relationship, you don't feel like your partner understands where you're coming from, what you're doing. Like in medical school, I live in Mamboza medicine and all that. So you tend to draw more towards the medical school colleagues and you spend more time with them because you think they understand you. So there was a lot of that. And one of the other things that led to our many breakups was insecurities on my end. Okay. Like I never wanted to see him with, you know, colleagues of the other gender because you would see, like for him, anytime we broke up, he didn't take one night, he was dating the next day.
And so this is the same person who comes in for conflict resolution.
Yeah. So you wonder, wait, when did you see this girl? When did you even start? So in my mind, I would think that this
it's been going on.
Yeah, it's been going on. But for him, it was very, very different. Maybe he will explain it. But it led to a lot of insecurities in the relationship, so that I was very unstable. Yeah. When he is not texting, I'm sure he's texting another person. Yeah. which honestly was never true. Yeah, so a lot of insecurities, but then we were able to navigate that and overcome it. Yeah.
Doc.
Yes.
You're the one who's coming in. I mean, we have all these praises of conflict resolution. And then you're the same person. You're not resolving your conflicts in another different way. What was that all about?
Okay, when we started, I think insecurity is also, you can also plant certain seeds. I felt then, I mean, I felt Eunice was a bit insecure. Like, I was like a chair of a fellowship, and most of the time you find in these fellowships, the vice chair is a female. But I think she was in that stage, especially this year where I was doing anatomy. She almost like felt, if I'm not spending time with her, then who else? So to the point where they got to one was very bad, where I had somebody who was my assistant, and I couldn't communicate with them. I had to use another person, because anytime she saw me with that person, she felt there was something. And really, I mean, even in church, there's a time we had gone for a mission. I'm seated next to this person, and that was a fight. It was a very bad fight, because I was the one even going to preach in the crusade. She had to later on just make amends. But let me say, the honest truth was that towards the end of that season, I also started feeling like maybe it's other people who really understand me. And I began like opening up my heart. I will not deny the fact that after a breakup, one becomes very vulnerable. And probably that's one of the reasons why I also dated many other people before, because I always felt the moment I was not dating, I was so much at risk. Because like...
So you needed to belong.
I needed to belong. And then I also, it's like most of my life, I've had ladies really reaching out and wanting to start a relationship with me. So I always felt like my only safety net is to be in a relationship, because then that blocks them off. But one of the things I think I pride myself in is that when I enter a relationship, I have a ruthless focus in that relationship. But the moment I'm also out, I am ruthlessly out. Like, I'm like, okay, So for me, when I get in, my mind, my whole heart is there. But the moment I'm convinced that this is not it, then I leave. Like, you might even wonder, was he really there? But interestingly, it's only with Eunice where I kept entertaining, like, should I go back? And so that's why we kept having those back and forth, back and forth.
Okay, but you know, with all this Eunice, why did you still hold on and waited for this guy who he's not talking to you, but you can see him with so and so. He's not really, but you still held on and you're still there. How? Why?
Yeah. So at the beginning, we go back to the beginning. Before we started, before I said the yes to the, though I was very young at that point, but I entered the relationship with a lot of deep convictions. I believe in the power of prayer and allowing God, especially into the space of dating and relationships. So when I was going in, I went in with that conviction that this is not just a boyfriend or it's not just any other relationship that I'm going into. This is going to be lead towards marriage. So I had the conviction, and it came, it was revealed through dreams and visions. You know, the way God tells you this is your husband, that was vividly, openly, candidly revealed to me. So when I was going in, that was it. So when we were breaking up and all that, I used to, most of the time, he was going to dating other people. I was going to prayer. I was going to pray and asking God, you said this. Are you still saying the same thing right now? This is 5 years down the line. Is it saying still the same thing? The voice never changed. 8 years down the line, this happened. He's even planning another wedding. Are you still saying the same thing? He still says, I have not changed my mind, that is it. So that really kept me waiting. I also dated another person just out of choice. I'm like, this guy is going to get married. I want to move on. So I made other choices, decided to date another person, but it was out of my choice. Anytime I went to pray, even for that relationship, God still reminded me, remember I told you. I already revealed to you. So it was a very hard season of, what you see or what you know is not what you see. So, but good thing on my end, I really spent a lot of time with God and going back to him to ask the questions, because he's the one who said it. So I really went back to that, and it kept me, waiting and hope I don't know if I would say hoping, but waiting.
Yeah.
And knowing that if God said it, it will definitely happen.
So as you wait on God, Doc is also waiting on just chicks out there.
Yeah.
Him is not even praying now.
No, I don't think he ever retreated to pray.
Because you are both Christians at the time.
Yeah.
I think there's something about this CU thing.
Yeah.
I've hosted couples here, and
Yeah.
this CU, then there's something that there's some grace there of marriage in the CU thing. Anyway, Doc, so you're still saved.
Yeah.
But at some point you backslid or what? What happened?
No, I never backslid,
No.
but what happened, I think, later on, because the only time I prayed, then God confirmed it to me.
Okay.
I think it was an arrogant spirit. I used to think that, for me, I can never struggle to get a woman.
Yeah.
Sometimes we'd have these guys in the CU who have been given rejection or given no, and I'm like, how do you get a no? You don't you have the skills? So I always felt like, and that's why in our early stages of dating, most of the time I tried to do conflict resolution, but there are times I would give her the impression that, by the way, I'm also very marketable out there. There are many people who are dying to have me.
Tall, dark, and handsome.
Yes, yes, and intelligent and all that. So, and that's why, like, I did a 4 months with someone else, didn't work another 4 months. Then now I was planning a wedding with somebody else. So the only time I ever got to come before God in humility, that's the time that there was so much clarity. You know, Eunice, maybe because of time, God speaks to her, and she's very prophetic. Let me give you an example. When I was about to propose to her, I had thought about the idea on a Thursday. I only shared it to one brother who I knew could not share it with her. On Friday, when we were meeting for a date, she's like, Chad, I dreamt that you're about to propose to me. And I had planned to do it the next week. So, and you see, previously when she used to tell me these things, God told me this, this, and that, I used to think she's trying to manipulate me. And I'm like, no, you're not going to use prophecy to manipulate me. So that sometimes even made me be very aloof. But then I realized that there's a place, and nowadays I encourage young people, one of the prerequisites for marrying someone is the ability to hear the voice of God.
Absolutely.
Because if you can't hear God's voice, you should not go into marriage. Because God's voice is the greatest, single most asset that you can. So when I heard God's voice, it was so clear in my spirit, I was ready to marry her the next day.
Wow.
And you see, that time, probably we'll get there. I had not talked with her for a long while. I didn't know whether she had moved on, whether she had married somebody. But then I hear that same voice she had constantly been hearing. She's so prophetic that when I was going to marry the other person, 3 months to the wedding, she already had a dream that relationship was going to break.
No.
And she never shared it with me. This one now, I'm looking at it now when we are now into marriage. There's a book she has called a prophecy book where she gets dreams. She has written all her dreams there. She never shared that book with me until when we got married.
Wow.
So I look at it, I'm like, who? She even saw the number of girls I was going to
And the
date.
dates are there. The
dates are there. She's dated. In fact, she even saw the exact number of girls I would date before we get married. And that time, like the time God, I think in one of the dreams, she saw that I was going to date 2 medics. And clearly, that's exactly So these things, I'm seeing them in retrospect. And of course, I'm also coming from a point of, I now had God and I'm convinced. And that made me feel so much admiration for God. That God, you have actually been speaking all this while.
Yeah.
It is just that my channel was not, I was not attuned to your frequency.
Right.
Yeah, so I think that was the turning point for us. Yeah.
As we are blessed as family to corner prophetess today. As we are so after this, we are one prophet. Amazing.
Yeah.
So Eunice, after this, because you guys seem to have been so much in love when you started dating.
Yeah.
Then what happens after the breakup? Now you've broken up, and okay, there are so many breakups. Which one now did you know, like, now this is it, we are done?
I would say which one? I'm thinking that there are so many. But the one that I thought we were done was this time I finished for the year, and then I entered into full-time ministry.
Okay.
You know, STEM, short-term experience in ministry.
Yes.
So there's a ministry in Thika called Africa Christian Mission International, ACMI, with Bishop Mulandi. So I decided to go and become a life changer.
Okay.
So during this time, he stopped his relationship and of course got into his reflection, and he was like, let me go look for Eunice. So he comes, of course my convictions are still there, But this time I decide to say no for this period of time. As a rule, maybe in the setup that I was in, you were not allowed to date because you were supposed to focus on ministry. So I decided to tell him, you know, for this period, the next one year, I'm going into short-term experience in ministry, and I'm not going to engage anything, relationship and all that. So he decides to back me up, and he's like, no, if you have decided to go into ministry, I will support you. So he supports me. Is it the first year or the first few months? It's okay. He's even, you know, this ministry where you need to look for support. He was even supporting me. But along the way, I decided to add another year into this one. So he's there really wanting us to, you know, go into a serious relationship because for him, he wants to finish medical school and think about marriage. He was now towards finishing medical school. So I tell him I want to continue with this, and this means no dating again and no those meetings and anything. Hey, so he took it. For him, it was like, I don't know what got into him, but he was like, no, I can't continue waiting. So Eunice, this is the last time I'm going to pursue this. I'm going to move on. You just move on with your ministry and your life. For me, I have decided, I have released you. You know, I've released you. Feel free to date another person. I'm also going to do the same. So when he chose that over ministry, I would say, and over maybe my passion and all that, I knew this one was now a done deal. Because one of the things I really knew why God wants to bring us together was for ministry. He still is very passionate about ministry. So I knew even if I decided to take 3 or 4 years, he would support me. But again, this one was different. He decided to back off. So that one, for me, really was, I was like, this one was never going to happen again. But then I still continued and added another year.
You did what you had to do.
But he moved on. And that is when he now got the person that he engaged. And
Look, you actually moved on.
I did.
Anyway, we're going to amazing conversation right here on Family Matters Relationship Clinic with the Chads. Let me call them the Chads because, and it's really, if you're just joining us, please make sure you join this conversation on our YouTube. There'll be a link there. You must follow it through from the beginning as we continue. And thank you so much for your feedback on 20316 SMS line 0786316316, our WhatsApp line. And I can see someone here saying, good morning, Sally. Eric from Thika here. I would really love to know, after how long in dating did they introduce each other to the parents? And to Doc, didn't you feel like 8 years was a long time in the dating mode? Yeah, so probably Eunice, you can take, after how long you introduce each other to your parents, and then Doc will tell us how he felt the 8 years of, you know, as much as was in med school. Yeah,
so we were so serious about our relationship when we started that we introduced our parents at the onset. At the very onset.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I met the parents. I went to visit him in his parents' home in Gori. He also came and visited mine. My sisters were living around Nairobi. He met them. So at the very onset, we introduced each other to each other's family. And they knew all along. Actually, when we were breaking, they would be more broken. They were more broken than us because they were really part of the journey. And they worked the whole journey with us. So at the very onset of dating is when we introduced them.
And how important is that, you know, for even the young people who are watching you in terms of, because there are people who date and nobody knows about, you know, either of the parents. How important is that?
Accountability. It brings in a lot of accountability and then it puts in the seriousness. You know, there are people who date and then it's just for the sheer fun of it. But then when you have a focus and then an expressed purpose for you two coming together, when you bring in the family, it brings a lot of accountability. Because you just can't wake up one morning and, you know, I'm gone. Okay, though for us it happened over and over. But then sometimes even the families would contribute to reminding us, you know, Chad, that girl, or Eunice, that guy was actually a good one. Like I had so many times my sister telling me, if I compare this one to that one, I would still ask you to go back to Dr. Chad. So they also help to carry the vision through and to remind you that you actually had a good thing. I would rather go for that than what you are. And the same for him. Many times they reminded him, you know, Eunice, and then basically comparing to the other many relationships that he had. So I'd say accountability.
I think you've spoken to the young people, which is very important. Daktari, you know, Doc, did you feel like 8 years was a long time to be in a dating mood?
I mean, Jacob dated for 14 years. 8 years, such a small time. Yeah, but for me, I never felt like it was a very long time. Though, of course, at some point, there's a point where I got to, I felt, I mean, this should be the last one. And that was in the penultimate relationship that I almost led to marriage but didn't get to marriage. Yeah. So when that broke, for me I was like, God, now I'm tired. If you want me to remain single the rest of my life, let me serve you. And I think God wanted me to be in that space so that he could now speak to me. Because here I kept moving from this to that, from this to that. So I didn't feel, because I mean I was looking for a wife. And wanasema atafutaye hachoki, akichoka kishapata. Yeah, so for me I didn't mind, but of course then I got to a point where I was serious with my life. I really wanted to settle down. And so that for me, when it broke, I was like, no, I don't want to start it again with somebody's, gee, what's your favorite color? Gee, those, I was just like, no, I'm just tired of this thing. I just want to marry. And that's why. As in you're getting married, like married? Everything planned? Everything was planned. WhatsApp group opened. We had raised money, almost $500,000. We had Rora show. We were just about to do Rora show. We had done introductions. And I mean, everything was flowing. We were just 3 months into now getting married. And then suddenly, God happens. Were you part of this unit? Did you play a role in this? Were you praying at some point, you know?
I was praying. I was praying because of what I knew, but I never prayed for that relationship to break because I knew that was selfish. I wanted, if he's going to come back, it's out of his own convictions, not because that I prayed against break that sister or
my father.
No, I never made those selfish types of prayer. If anything, I was praying for them to blossom and to have a good wedding and marriage, you know, that,
Because now actually you're not even together.
Yeah, we were not together at that time,
So you've planned everything, the wedding is in 3 months, and you just called it off?
I didn't call it off. She called it off, but I'm the one who brought some, after just proposing and putting a ring on her finger, some things became too apparent to me. There are things that were concerns to me, very fundamental things. But I felt now they were magnified. And I'm like, you see, sometimes, Sally, a wedding day is just a day. Marriage is a lifetime.
Absolutely.
So we were not agreeing on what is important. Is it the wedding day or is it the marriage? So when at that time I said, hey, can we just hold the wedding day and sort these things up? And then that became now the trouble. Because when I made that proposal, it was met with, no, I am out. And so we tried to salvage that relationship. We had even started a company. We were thriving in this city. We were winning tenders. And so that came with a lot of struggle. So when that happened, she wanted out. And it was an irreversible decision. So we tried. I mean, I used to work. We would go for whole night reconciliation meetings with our best couple. Nothing works. I get into the car, drive back, and go back to work like that. So when the time came, then at that time, I was hoping that this would work. That's why when the conflict happened, I didn't even tell my parents. I just told them that stuff we are sorting. Because in my mind, I was like, if this works, I don't want, especially my mom, to have a negative opinion of this girl. So when it became apparent to me that this is not it, there was so much peace in my spirit. It's interesting that when she said that she wanted out, my feelings, I was feeling very terrible. But in my spirit, there was a song playing, you have done me well, you have done me. And I wondered, why is this song playing in my spirit? Then I realized that it was actually the hand of God who orchestrated everything. Because I look back and maybe, just maybe, and you see somebody can be a good person, but they may not be your person. And I have deep respect for this lady. The parents are amazing people. I mean, just the other day I met the father in a prayer mountain and just chatted up. And so there is no bad feeling. But for me, I realized that I was going to enter bad marriage. And probably we wouldn't be here today.
Fantastic. Feedback right here. Someone is saying, hi, Sally. Doc understood that nature does not allow vacuum. That's why you used to get a replacement ASAP. Apewe soda kwa bili ya unit. Doc, someone hapo kona fan fulani anaona at that time that was the right thing to do. Then he goes ahead and says, Sally also ask if within those 8 years of dating, did they test drive, or if not, how did they manage to do self-control? This is the Egyptian king. And I think you understand what he means by that. And I remember last week I had, the topic we're discussing here was the rise of situationships. And something that came out quite a lot was this issue of test driving, you know? Can you respond to that?
So for those 8 years, we never did test driving. We came from a point where we believed that sex is supposed to be something that is supposed to be done in marriage.
Great.
I think part of the reason why some of our breakups are very difficult, or sometimes people sustain toxic relationships. When sex comes in, vision is lost before marriage. So you find somebody's in a difficult relationship, but now they can't see clearly. So for us, of course, we had to overcome a lot of challenges of the flesh and all that. So I cannot say that we were just, there was so much. So we had, but we consciously made it. And I remember having this conversation with Eunice back then. I still remember how she told me, Chad, the day we ever have sex, she painted a picture that I think I would just go to another planet and I would just be the worst. And for me, I also felt the same conviction. And so that kept sustaining us. When one person feels like they are going to lose it, the other person would pick them up and just like that. So that now when we got married and we had it, I feel like angels were there.
It was honored.
It was honorable and beautiful. Because the Bible says in Proverbs 5:15 that your sex life will be blessed. But it starts by saying, drink water from your own cistern. Drink water. And you see, it's not your cistern except you marry them. So I think that was, I don't know if Eunice can.
Because Eunice, I want you just to come in with, what is the importance of chastity in a marriage, or in life, not in a marriage, but in life?
In life. So I believe strongly in chastity, purity, maintaining a life of general purity. And I think for us, what it did for our marriage, it laid a very good foundation on trust. Now that we went into marriage, having not test drive, so we are able to trust each other, that if we were able to keep, our purity when we were dating, I know even in marriage there's nothing, so it laid a foundation of trust, a foundation of purity, so that now, like God said, we went into the marriage bed, pure. So it brought a lot of peace. And of course the joy of your human being broken with your husband, because there are people out there, you just meet someone drunk in the club, they take away your virginity. So there's also the joy and fulfillment from a lady's perspective that comes from knowing that my virginity or hymen was broken by the person I'm going to spend the rest of my life with. So it comes with a lot of pride. And joy.
Lovely. Someone here is saying, good morning, Sally, Dr. Chad and his beautiful wife, Eunice. My question is to the couple. After they got back together, were there trust issues, and how were they able to deal with that? Because most of us couples struggle to rebuild that after betrayal, especially that Eunice will respond to that. And then why a book on sex, yet he's a doctor? I think there's someone who knows you, then you have a book doc. Why a book on sex, yet he's a doctor? Why not something on matters health? So Eunice, probably let's talk about that trust, as you get back together. Did you have trust issues, and how are you able to just deal with that?
I mentioned earlier, one of the things I really struggled with was insecurity. Because the moment somebody you're dating, you're in love with them, you're all okay, and then you break up with them 1 month later, they're with another person. I mean, you would be very insecure because you know this person is just in it for the ride. So we had a lot of trust issues and, went through a lot of fights in terms of insecurities. But I remember we walked the journey of insecurity with someone, Dr. Beda. I hope he can watch this. He really mentored us in terms of building trust, and especially taught Chad how to make sure that, you are the one responsible for making sure that Eunice is not insecure. And he was very practical with whatever he learned, or we learned from Dr. Beda, that there are things you can do as a man that communicates to the woman that actually, there are other people, I have options and all that.
Yes,
but you can create an environment where you make them feel secure and they can be able to, you know, gain back the trust. So we took it as a personal responsibility to build each other's trust. So if I'm not comfortable with something, he would rather trade it. If he's not comfortable with something, I would rather trade it. Because in the end, our focus is one, that we want this relationship or marriage to work. All these other things can come in second. So it was hard work, but then it paid off.
Awesome, indeed it has. And Doc, you know, on the book, someone is asking why a book on sex, and you know, you had said you're an author, so I believe this is one of those books you're talking about. So they're asking why not help book something? Why this particular book, and you know, what is it about? Briefly.
Okay, so the book on sex is because it's a burden in my heart that God has placed over time. And the honest truth is that things are not okay when it matters, it comes to matter sex. Arguably, I think there is nothing that has such a pull on humanity as sex. And so I got to this point where I felt the foundations are broken, and our society is facing deep hurts, deep problems, marital issues, relationship issues because of misguided sexuality, which is mostly based on deception. So I got the permission from the Holy Spirit to write this book to basically bring sexuality from the point of truth, because most of our understanding of this is an area, especially for people in church, our parents never talked to us about it.
Very correct.
It was, I mean, you just be like me, I remember you'd be told, no, nani ameshika mimba. That is supposed to be a lesson to you. Never had any genuine and candid conversations. So most of our information on sexuality is the things we've gotten on the internet, people who are broken themselves. I mean, you look at, I checked a study, like, and that was 10 years ago. 80% of youths were confessing that they were having premarital sexual affairs in one church. I think these numbers are probably going higher. We're in an era where sexuality or virginity is being attacked. We are now talking about body count, and people are comfortably with it. So men are very responsible. We are making girls pregnant, running away, so all that. And I also struggled with pornography and masturbation for many years until the Lord delivered me. So in this book is a whole package. This one is a book you read, and it's not a book. It's something from my heart, from the Spirit. So we answer those questions. What happened in the sexual revolution? What is the anatomy of a sex trap? Basically, how do you manage your emotions and the raging feelings and all that? So it is a great book.
Talk about exploring the peculiarity, purpose, and power of sex. Amazing. I wouldn't want to end this show without, I'm sure, and that's a question probably everybody has. How then did you reconnect? At what point? Because I think we have 5 minutes or less, Eunice, and then probably Doc will wrap it up.
So we reconnect at the point where now his relationship is ending, or rather has ended. And then I come back from Ghana, and then I had this relationship that I was hoping would work, but then it doesn't work. So he goes, this is the time that now he decides to go into prayer. All this time he never retreated and went back to prayer, but this time he decided to do that. And the conviction comes. So I see a message out of nowhere wishing me, you know, congratulations to a master's degree that I had graduated 3 or 4 months ago.
Slowly.
So he came back slowly, planned dates here and there with his sister, trapped me in that. And so the conversation started. And then now I receive a new, different man who is coming with conviction, a lot of maturity, a lot of, you know, you just see a husband and a father in this person. And we're like, this one now, there's alignment.
Let's hit
and we are good to go.
So, oh, wow. Doc, how did you, now reconnection?
So just on top of what she said, so I get this overwhelming feeling. It's just like during the prayers, I start sensing the name Eunice, and I start getting interested. And I start reaching out to her. But the important thing was now how God confirms his voice to me, not just what I heard. So I have one of my mentors who was taking me through that process of a breakup. And one day we were on a call. I didn't even tell her. She's like, by the way, where is Eunice? I'm like, why are you also being concerned about Eunice?
Yeah.
Then I have another brother of mine, a very wonderful brother. He tells me, by the way, Chad, me of all the ladies we've ever dated, if there's one woman who I think is in your future, is Eunice. These conversations are coming to me, and at that time I've already reached out to her, just finding out. So of course the next thing was to find out if she's single, is she married, is she betrothed to someone. But to cut the long story short, so I asked her out, and I remember she told me, Chad, I want you to go and hear God. And I'm like, I'm coming from God.
Yeah.
I've heard God. He told me, no, go hear God. She already knew it's a yes for her because she's been waiting for this moment. And she's like, go hear God. I'm like, no, I'm coming from God. Then I think it was during December, so we part ways, and then we connected. The same January 7th. Now, many years later. Remember our first dating started?
Number 7.
Number 7, yes.
Yeah.
On that very day, we met at Garden City, and I told her, I confirm to you again, I have heard God, and I'm ready to marry you tomorrow.
Wow.
And that's how the rest is history.
The rest is history. What a story.
Yeah.
This needs like 2 hours. Asante sana. And let me not go without just, you know, there are a lot of feedback right here. Good morning, Sally and the beautiful couple. Their journey just keeps getting better and funnier. God is really in that union. That's from Akisa. I think there's someone who really knows you. Then there's the last person here saying, my today's takeaway, sex before marriage is a sin. Proverbs 5:15. Even pastors can move on quickly. Asante sana. Thank you so much for your time, for the feedback, the questions, the compliments. Asanteni sana. We really appreciate you. And also to our partners, thank you so much for just supporting this ministry. We want to say thank you so much. If you want to be a partner, then you can do that by just sending the word partner on 20316 or 0786 316 316, our WhatsApp line. And also if you want to be support or a blessing to this ministry as well, you can do that by sending whatever God blesses you with on pay bill number 316 and the account number shall be your telephone number. God bless you and keep you. See you again next week on Family Matters, Tuesday through to Thursday. Thank you and goodbye for now. Hey.